Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.
Live from the GBM studios in Belize City, it's Open Your Eyes. Start your morning right with your hosts, Sabrina Daly and Paul Lopez.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Sabrina Daly.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
And good morning, Paul.
Good
How
morning.
we doing?
I'm doing fine.
It's an unusual Monday morning having
It
our
is.
faces on, is it?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, guys, to disappoint you. I know we've become accustomed to having Isani and April on, so there's just a slight change up this morning. But we are still very much happy to be here with you, including our TikTok viewers. We have our TikTok fans locked in on an early Monday morning, and as you guys know, the routine is we have to sign off here, but we invite you guys over to our main live. It was always fun getting like behind the scenes conversations going. We were talking early this morning about like coffee shops that are on the scenes right now and who's super into the matchas and how much they're willing to spend on the matchas as well. But aside from that, it's been quite an eventful weekend. I know there's a lot to get into. But before we do that, can we jump into our show lineup?
Yeah.
All right. So this morning's conversation will begin with a conversation surrounding building a new era of community policing. After that, balancing the scales, uplifting women's voice in Women's Month. You would know that the month of March is Women's Month. Also, this is the first Monday of the month of March. Happy March. And then finally, shaping success with women in the digital space.
Yeah.
So that's what we have lined up for you guys in terms of conversations. But aside from that, we do have sort of like a couch discussion as well. I also know aside from that, there is the women in police or women in the forces, the security forces that will be marching as well. So that's something that we'll be looking forward to.
Indeed. So they will be marching this morning. So they're marching into March. I like that you mentioned it's the first Monday in March, and one of the things that kind of signals the entry of this season is the heat.
Yeah?
The heat has been on, and I'm sure that a lot of us out there we're feeling it. This weekend was no exception. I was in Belmopan on Saturday, and that's,
Did you feel that Kyle heat?
Man, that sun by your skin feel like you're close to stove or
Wow.
fire hot, that hot. And then yesterday was no different as well. There's certain times in the day, like between 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, where that heat is on. And so that's what we expect from this time of the year, right?
Yeah, but with the heat come the lee breeze too, man.
Right,
Because
so
you
you
know that
get kite season, and then right into kite season, you get your Easter holiday.
Yeah.
And so there's also a time when a lot of Belizeans go out and swim. And so there's also advice or something where we should always be alert and be aware as to not only our surroundings in waters, but the surroundings of our family members, our friends, the children. We should always be looking out for the kids when we go out swimming, right? Because we, on this side of the reporting space, we hear the stories annually, and we would hate for something like that to occur this year. Though sometimes some people say it's inevitable because of the amount of volume of people that floods to the rivers, the keys, the beach, etc. And so I just thought it prudent to kind of get our minds in the space this morning where we become more alert and aware and conscious of these sort of activities that we do during
My
this
final
time.
thoughts before we go into our things that we think people should know is it just me or do we feel like the year is just flying by very quickly?
Yeah.
We're in the 3rd month now, you know, Paul. And I feel like we just acknowledged the new year, you know, like about 4 weeks ago. I feel like it was just a month that it was in January.
Yeah, I stopped having that discussion and I just started embracing it.
Yeah?
Because I feel like 2020 and me just the other day.
True.
And with the 6 years.
Doesn't it feel kind of scary though, Paul, that time feels like it's going by so fast?
It does in a sense, but it
Does
also...
it feel that way for you guys? Do you get like frightened, like, okay, I need to quickly do the things that I say I wanted to do
Exactly.
because time is gonna scoot by
I don't
very
know if
quickly.
quickly is the word, but it keeps us grounded.
Yeah.
Because it keeps us remembering that time waits for nobody. And if you want to do something, get out there,
Yeah.
be brave, get uncomfortable, and do it.
I'm
now.
definitely in that season
All right.
of life.
And it's our
for
peach
sure.
now, right? I start do collection. So much
Offering.
jump into the
Let's go
five
into
things
what
you
we
need
have
to
lined
know.
up.
All right, so here are some things you need to know this morning. Prominent underworld figure dies of sudden illness at sea. Secondly, the U.S. and Israel launched major combat operations against Iran on Sunday, killing the supreme leader, who has been confirmed dead. Ruta Maya paddler boycotts Love FM. Protest concerns develop, leading to races end. And last but certainly not least, what's up with the launch of the National Bus Company, which is officially entering its phase as of yesterday. And so we're going to talk about those things.
All right. Well, Paul, I think what was probably going to be a headline story tonight in the newscast has been the passing of an underworld figure that was announced, I believe, last night across social media. Mr. Flowers was known to the law, I believe, in some
many
cases.
instances.
But he was out at sea. It was reported that there was some sort of boat mechanical issue. However, instead of that being the main concern or the major concern, it was when he experienced a type of medical issue. I believe it was a stroke or 2 strokes he had. And ultimately having his boat not being able to move in time to land to get the medical attention that he needed, he succumbed to his injury.
Yeah, it's no doubt that this individual is somebody that's well known to the law. He is respected in the streets. He is a leader within these communities. He is specifically known as somebody of authority in what we call or we refer to, or people refer to as the PIV area, correct? And what we gathered yesterday, initially reports were that there was this huge explosion due to this mechanical issue, and that he had suffered some injuries as a result of that, and then that led to a stroke. But as the information becomes more clearer and we gather more, because what the explosion was kind of beginning to suggest was some sort of way to say it,
Like attack?
like an attack. So some suspicious activities there, right? But as the information becomes clearer, we're beginning to learn and understand that it was more of a medical emergency that he suffered. While there may have been some mechanical issues with the boat, it was a medical emergency where he experienced a stroke, we understand, and
Which is a crazy coincidence, right?
right, and then he was rushed for medical assistance, medical care, and we understand that it is in that process that he experienced a second stroke and passed away. Now, this individual is well known by the law. If you go and you look up the name Edwin Flowers, who also goes by the name Drive, he's well known in the streets by Drive. He has a criminal past, accused of murders. He was recently on trial for gun and drug charges following a bust on an island off the coast of Belize City. And one begins to question, and I hear questions about the vacuum that now his absence creates in the street. And some might say, well, it's a bit too early to have that conversation, but at the same time, people are considering what his absence means for leadership, if you would, in this street organization, if I can put it that way, and how they'll seek to move forward in this area. One of the things we also know about Mr. Flowers is that he was heavily involved in the leadership intervention unit. He was considered a leader in the unit, and there were conversations about him wanting and attempting to change his life, and this is why he sought to be in the leadership intervention unit, and perhaps even sought to change the course of many other young men that looked up to him. But at the same time, there was questions about his character and his true intent for being a part of the leadership intervention unit after that drug and gun bust that took place recently. But all in all, we know that the community is mourning. We know that those who are close to him, his family and his friends, that they are mourning. And it is not often that we hear of situations where somebody, such a prominent street figure, passes away under such circumstances, right? It's usually associated with some sort of violent incident or some sort of violent act. And it's not necessarily to give credence to their operation here this morning or to make it more glorious or to glorify it in a sense, because you have to, but you also have to separate the citizen and the person from the gang element. But at the same time, you can't ignore that there's a huge gang element here that has to be looked at, and you can't ignore the fact that now a new leader must emerge, if you would, because it's the reality that we live in. It's the streets that we live in.
Yeah.
And so
what does that look like even?
And then, so even what that looks like, and within these groups, there's always a level of internal volatility as well. And so questions emerge as to whether or not this could spark up those sort of things within that community. But it is also to acknowledge that he has passed this morning, and that we will be following it up in our newscast and get those interviews.
Yeah, well, we still want to stay on the local scenes, but there has been some crazy developments over the weekend involving the La Ruta Maya River Challenge. You would know that we were talking about it extensively on Friday's What the Friday episode of Open Your Eyes, and this also has been conversations throughout the course of the past 2 weeks, I'd say. This follows an announcement that there would be a change in the finish line of the La Ruta Maya River Challenge. Now, that was confirmed and became official that, in fact, the finish line did change from the Belkan Bridge area to the Grand Resort near Halover Bridge. Now, we were anticipating some type of reaction. We had the Belize Canoe Association on the couch with us. You heard their thoughts on it. But there was also a meeting that was held over the weekend. I understand that the Belkan brand came forward inviting parties to come together to figure out a way forward before the race, to have a better understanding of what the concerns were. But Paul, out of that meeting, I did not imagine that we would see a full-on boycotting of the organized station that has been involved with documenting this challenge, this race, for many decades. And that's exactly what happened. They are saying that they are boycotting Love FM in terms of providing interviews, I understand. And while they can't do much about changing where the end of the race is, for safety reasons, they will still show some type of protest and reaction, I imagine, at the end.
Yeah, Love FM came on the scene with the race in 2015.
Okay,
yeah.
so about a decade.
About a decade. And they've been providing coverage for the race ever since. And it's a part of exposing brand, right? It's a part of brand exposure. You need that sort of.
It almost seems
yeah.
synonymous
Yeah,
after so long.
you need
though.
that. And what we heard from one individual, I think it's Javier Gutierrez over the weekend, is that somebody who has been broadcasting. They've been part of the broadcasting initiative of the race for the last since its inception. He said that the Love FM has pretty much taken over the broadcasting aspect, and he felt as if he was being excluded, even though he's been such a prominent figure for the last 5 years. He felt a level of exclusion, and I think that is the bottom line here. A lot of people feel excluded from not only the organization and the planning of the race, but they also feel excluded in terms of the events that take place at the finish line, in terms of the decisions that are made, the little booths that are set up at certain parts of the finish line on the grounds, who could enter, who can't enter, who's VIP, who isn't VIP. These sort of things, people feel excluded. People that takes this race to heart, people that invest a lot in the race, right? And it is that exclusion that I think is ultimately the main challenge, and it is that exclusion that is becoming what people are describing as the downfall of the race. People want to feel included, and the pin that broke the camel's back, if you would, I think that's the saying, was the decision to move the finish line. And so the exclusion, the sentiment of exclusion just continues to spill over. So yes, they're planning to boycott the race in terms of not giving Love FM interviews. And they're going to rely on other media houses to get interviews from. And so that's one of the decisions they're making. And then we also heard conversations surrounding excluding Love FM altogether from the race next year. I understand that that is a legal process, and that legal process is currently underway by even family members of the Harrison brothers. They are stepping in to essentially take back the race and plan it for next year in a different manner, excluding Love FM.
Forgive me though, because now I'm getting a little bit confused. Does Love FM have a say, or did Love FM have a say in where the ending of the finish line would be? Because it seemed that the original frustration had to do with the finish line, and now it's about the Love FM TV station and radio station in general. It seems that they're now moving their frustration and their direction to Love FM.
Yeah, well, we still haven't been able to get full clarity on the entire involvement of Love FM in the race in terms of what their particular role is outside of being broadcasters. But we do know that based on the conversations they've had, they invest heavily in the race. And they, like the committee, expect a return. And that's one of the conversations I think is not being held enough, how expensive it is to have these sort of races. So outside of the exclusion, to balance off the conversation, you have to consider the finances that is needed to run a race like this, to operate a race like this. And nobody goes into, especially private businesses, goes into these things to lose money. You want to earn money and you want to be as profitable as possible. But I think in the pursuit of profit, and in which some would say is justifiable because you have to make back your money, but in the pursuit of profit, you also have to balance inclusion. And perhaps that is where they went off course. I don't disagree in totality with any initiative or any effort to earn as much income as is necessary so that paddlers get their prizes, so that they're well taken care of throughout the race, so that the broadcasting is as smooth as possible. But it's how you go about doing it. And so this is the balancing act that any organizing committee, anybody that has even a morsel of input into the organization, that they have to consider. And if you don't consider that, you get these types of pushbacks, you get these types of protests. And ultimately, people will push you out because they feel a sense of ownership and entitlement to a race that was originally planned and intended for the people.
Yes. Well, moving things along, if we're talking for the people, I think this bus conversation is another one as well. As you rightly mentioned, yesterday, which was March 1st, was officially the opening of the National Bus Company as well. And with that, we've been talking about it quite a few on our newscasts as well. The changes that we will be anticipating over the course of the next couple years. But while we're not seeing necessarily new buses on the scenes as yet, there is new ownership. And so I saw even over the weekend, some people kind of like acknowledging the end of an era
like
for the James bus line, right? And what a big deal that was. A lot of people have even like a sense of pride around the James bus line, even if you're not a part of the ownership. But there were also some concerns coming out from the public side, wondering if there would be some changes in bus schedules as well. And so the Department of Transport put out a press release providing some answers to those frequently asked questions.
Again, it's another case study of change. And in this season, perhaps those persons who want to study change and how things shift in Belize and what's their best approach to change in Belize, this is a great season.
Yeah,
you have the La Ruta Maya, I know you have the National Bus Company, but the jarring, I think it really sunk in for people when they saw that National Bus Company logo go over the James Bus Line logo over the weekend.
Yeah.
It
made us didn't it make you think of our James Bus Line conversation last year? When a James bus going to the weekend.
We're not going there, can't get in trouble with Shaw's bus for that. Yeah, they scold me about that one day. Right? But even them, even Shaw bus, you won't no longer see Shaw bus. You'll see the same sticker, the National Bus Company over it. What I understand, right, and what I have learned based on conversations and consultations is that it is a phased period that we are in. And so what the minister pointed out is that from March to August, we're in a transition period where we're working on the administrative aspect of it. So that includes ensuring that there is cohesion, that the scheduling is fine-tuned, that they get on board a cashless system as well, that this sort of racing on the highway doesn't take place as it was before because they're no longer competing against each other.
Yeah.
So you don't have to race. We are now a part of the same company, the same goal, the same objective. So a lot of the issues, according to how they presented it, a lot of the issues that commuters complained about are being addressed, administrative issues are being addressed in this March to August phase. But one of the big things that a lot of commuters complained about isn't going to be addressed in the immediate, in the overnight, which is the quality of buses that we ride on a day-to-day basis. So what the minister explained is that in August, we're going to begin to see the rollout of new buses, electric buses. And if my memory serves me correct, this rollout will take place from August of this year all the way into next year and furthermore into 2030. And the objective is to replace all the buses. For me, I think what is progress in the immediate is the ability to, or the move to put a stop to the racing on the highway.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know that all the change will happen immediately overnight, but to me, this is a step in the right direction. So you stop the racing by removing this competitive hostility from the initiative. But there are still questions because people feel a certain way about not seeing new buses on the road.
Yeah.
Right? So we got a new company with the same old bus. And that kind of what people are concerned about. And I think the only way for people to buy into it
is when they actually physically see.
Is when they actually physically see the new buses
on the line.
And begin to ride those new buses, but to also begin to experience some level of change in the way how the services are being offered.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure something we'll be following today to look at how the rollout is progressing and how the national bus company is now on stream and what people are saying about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we want to move into our final topic, and this one is more international. I know that a lot of people right now are having somber thoughts around the conflict situation in the Middle East involving the United States. Paul, my social media pages, news pages were just filled with a lot of very sad reports involving airstrikes, persons across the Middle East, as I mentioned, even in Dubai, being impacted by these major combat operations as it is, or as it was identified. With that, we also learned that the supreme leader of Iran, his name is Ali Khamenei, was confirmed dead as well. And so there's a lot of conversation surrounding what his role was and what follows after his passing as well.
Yeah, so the name is a bit
Khamenei?
hard. Yeah,
Khamenei?
So it's Khamenei, right?
Khamenei?
Yeah. So, well, the K,
The K is like silent?
it goes into the H and yes, right. So it's like a right?
Khamenei.
Yeah. It's not familiar to our mother tongue, right? So, but that's one thing. This is an individual that holds the greatest level of authority within that nation. And for me, I contextualize it by looking at the U.S. actions in the international scene, right? Not only in Iran, but also in Venezuela, and the impacts on Cuba as well under the Trump administration.
Yeah.
And the aggressive nature with which his administration goes against or attacks those nations that are opposed to the United States. It says to me that the Trump administration is not an administration to be messed with. It's not an administration to threaten. It's not an administration to go against. And this is why, to some extent, when the U.S. had representation at CARICOM meetings over the course of the last week, a lot of the leaders have to essentially be yes sir, yes ma'am, take that yes sir, yes ma'am type of approach, because they appreciate the authority that not only the U.S. has, but the seriousness of this man called President Donald Trump. When he say he want to do something, he says he's shown, he's proven that they don't now have the capability, but the wherewithal to go against any country. And so people are asking, well, who's next? Will it be China?
Yeah. People are also asking about retaliatory efforts that might come out of Iran. I understand that there was a red flag hoisted above mosques. And so we know that they have retaliated in trying to attack military bases from their neighbors. But I'm speaking more specifically to the United States. There are concerns around that too.
And you have to understand that for people in that nation, this attack didn't only kill a political figure, it also killed a religious figure, right? Supreme in religious leadership. And that, for a nation that holds their religious beliefs and practice so close,
their regime,
for some it's like comparable to
like a king.
A king.
Yeah, because he's above the president.
Even a pope in some senses, right? And so you could understand the fury that is emanating from the leaders that are still alive, because along with the supreme leader, many other leaders were executed through these bombings, and the Trump administration has vowed to take more lives.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to retaliation against the United States, what we've seen Iran do, they've launched missiles towards bases, U.S. bases within the Middle East, and countries that have not seen aggression at this level.
Who are probably not even picking a side.
Right, but because of association, because they have U.S. bases and U.S. relations in their country, they're being attacked. And what is ironic for me is that many of these nations are, and for a lot of people, is that many of these nations are telling or demanding that Iran stops or cease bombings or attacks against Middle East countries.
Because innocent people die.
On the other hand, there wasn't this much, condemnation against the U.S. by some of these countries, or this attempt to defend Iran, right? By many of these countries. And a lot of people find that ironic. So you tell Iran, stop the bomb, stop the bomb, stop the bomb. But there was no such coming forward when the U.S. decided to take these sort of actions. And Iran has vowed not to negotiate any further with the U.S. over their nuclear operations, because this is where it all began. At least currently, this is where it began. We're based on reports from the U.S. and the conversations about Iran developing nuclear weapons, and the U.S. attempting to have them stop these sort of developments, and they're around the negotiation table. And President Trump kept warning, if we not reach one deal, I feel with wrath. And well, the Trump administration said they have had enough. They don't want to talk no more. We don't want to move forward with how we want this thing to move forward. So again, for me, it is a sign of the times.
Yeah.
And nations and leaders around the world are looking, and I think many of them are cowering. They're thinking, how can we stay on the good side of the Trump administration and stay on the good side of this president? And for many nations, it's how can we just get through this? Because this is President Trump's last term. How can we just get through this season?
If he's not able to find another
way
to...
a loophole not to have a third term. How can we get through this season and hope for better, depending on which side you're on, hope for better in the future? So as much as it is an attack, it is also something of optics that a lot of countries are now saying, yeah, boy, then people are serious. We have to stay up and we P's and Q's.
It's a trying time, I think, for the world in general, not just particular regions. It's a scary time even. My thoughts are definitely with people who have been traveling. For example, I had a conversation with my best friend. She has a small business or a side business as a travel agent, as a travel consultant. And she had some of her clients in Dubai when the airports had to be closed down because of the strikes that were taking place over that side. So innocent lives are being impacted by this. You know, you can't prepare for something like that. And so my thoughts are definitely with people who are trying to figure out what their safety will look like for the next coming months even. I also think about implications when wars like this take place. They always say when wars take place, gas price go up, you know, oil go up.
And over there, that part of the world, they're one of the largest, they're not the largest suppliers of oil.
Yeah.
Right? Energy for the world.
And so if we are not directly impacted, we will be impacted one way or another. That's where we're going to have conversations about inflation again. And so it's definitely going to impact each and every one of us, and we should be having this conversation. But unfortunately, we have to conclude this segment now this morning. We want to thank you for your thoughts in the comment section and just staying engaged with us. We move things along now and go into our weather update. And this comes from the folks at the National Meteorological Service. All right, here is our Eye on the Weather, brought to you by the folks from the National Meteorological Service. Today's weather calls for sunny with a few cloudy spells and partly cloudy tonight. Showers will be isolated. In terms of temperatures, coastal areas will experience highs of 85 degrees Fahrenheit and dropping to lows of 75. Inland areas will be going as high as 90 degrees, but going as low as 68 degrees, quite chilly. But in the hills, you can expect around 82 degrees Fahrenheit for higher temperatures, then dropping to a chilly 62 degrees Fahrenheit as well in the hills. In terms of our extended forecast for inland and coastal areas, on Tuesday and Wednesday, you can expect very similar temperatures, highs of 85 and 84, and then 91 and 88. However, lows will also look like 75 and 68 and 76 and 68 as well for inland and coastal areas. On Thursday and Friday, though, also very similar, 84 and 88, 85 and 87, then dropping to lows of 77 and 70, 76 and 70 for inland and coastal areas. The sea state today will look a slight to light chop and the winds will blow from the east to northeast at 5 to 15 knots. Today's high tide will take place at 9:44 a.m. However, a low tide will take place at 3:22 p.m. and then another high tide at 9:40 p.m. and then tomorrow another low tide at 4:19 a.m. And the sun rose this morning at 6:10 a.m. and it's set to set at 5:59 p.m. The moon set will take place at 5:34 a.m. or the moon set at 5:34 a.m. and will rise tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. And that does it for our Eye on the Weather, again brought to you by the folks from the National Meteorological Service. Paul, back to you.
Excellent. Thanks for that weather update, Sabrina. What we're going to do right now is we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, it's all about community policing. We'll have a conversation. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.